Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to all of you. Great to have you here in the sanctuary. And welcome, Bruchim Habaim, to all of you who are watching the live stream at home. It's a pleasure to have you davening and praying with us, too. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. With me on the bima, our cantorial soloist, Allison Rosoff. And down at our piano, our accompanist, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. We are going to begin in our prayer book on page 14 with one of the traditional Kabbalat Shabbat Psalms. In particular, Psalm 97, Or Zarua La Sadiq. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Adonai, Adonai, beholdu lezecher kocho, lezecher kocho. Or Zarua La Sadiku Ish Relev Simcha. Sing Debbie Friedman's Light These Lights, and following that you'll find the blessing for the Shabbat candles on page 2.
And
Bless you, Adonai, for the sacred obligation, the mitzvah of lighting the 2 Shabbat candles to observe and to remember our day of rest. We're going to continue with the words of Shalom Aleichem, peace to you, messengers of the Most High. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Yehi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Machem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Yehi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Tzitchem Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei On 26, words of praise, the half or Hansi Kaddish.
Yitkadav, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabbah, B'yamad Yivrach, Yurtei, V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon u'v'yomechon, u'v'chayei de kol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, u'v'zman kariv, v'yimaru, Amen. Yishmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam olam me'yamaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yipa'ar, v'roman, v'yinasei, v'yithadar, v'yidaleh, v'yithalal, Shemei dekudesha brichu, le'elam in kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damira be'ama, v'yimaru, Amen.
Let's rise now for Shema and its blessings and the Barhu, our call to prayer on 28.
Yai
together the words of Ma'ariv Aravim for creation on page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. And words of great love, ahavat olam, are found on the bottom of 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works in the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We open up our eyes singing these words from Jeff Klepper.
Open up our eyes, teach us how to live, fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live.
Teach us how to live.
Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivot Malachuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Feel free to be seated and join us as we chant the words of the Via Hafta on page 36, loving God with all our heart, mind, and might. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech u'shofecha u'kumecha ukshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim le'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher Hotzeiti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot Lachem Le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Let's turn now to Words of Freedom found on page 40 and 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished. A gift for our children and the generations to come. Song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, for soldiers home to leave no more. The song of the world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, no rati lo, o sefen, no rati lo, o sefen. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, no rati lo, o sefen, no rati lo, o sefen. The closing words of the blessing. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. And words of protection and shelter that we find ourselves each evening lying down in peace, found on page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom,
Ve'amidenu Shomreinu L'chaim,
Uvros aleinu Sukat Shlomecha, Uvros aleinu Sukat Shlomecha.
Shelter us between thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us all from harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with the morning Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, your people Israel and Jerusalem. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Let's rise now for our standing prayers. The words of the Tefillah begin on 46 and continue on even pages.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer, U'Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Hakol, Atah Rav LaHoshia, Mashiva Ruach, U'Marida Hashem, Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Nofim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umechayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit Mechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neman Hatalech HaChayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'vo yom yalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Feel free to be seated. These first three prayers for the merit of the matriarchs and patriarchs, for the miracle of our lives and hopefully health, and for holiness. And now we'll continue on page 55 with a prayer for Shabbat, Kedushat Hayom. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. And a prayer asking that God's presence always remains with us wherever we are, here and Israel or throughout the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamachazir Shechinato Litzion. And we'll share words of gratitude and thanks on page 59. Baruch atah Adonai Hatov Shimcha Uha Na'eh Lechodot. And finally, our prayer for peace is on 60. Grant peace in Israel for your people. You are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamvarech et Amo Yisrael, Ba'Shalom. Blessed are you, Adonai, blesses your people Israel and the world with peace.
Shalom Rav, טוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם.
We'll continue now with words of healing. You'll find the prayer Mishaberach on the screens, as well as the middle of page 253, as we call to mind and to heart those in our community and beyond who are in need of strength at this time. We think of Yonatan Ruven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Babs Brown, Manuel Cruz, Harry Fleisch, Rob Edelman, John Friedman, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, Patricia Gamler, Arnold Miller, Melissa Miller, William Miller, Michael Ranzino, Rabbi Avram Reifer, Gary Rosenberg, Hal Rosenberg, Stephanie Ross, Dennis Schulman, Deborah Belkin Shapiro, Jeff Stark, Sharon Worster, and Sophia Young. If there are any other names that you'd like to add, feel free.
My father, George Stark.
Mishaberach avotenu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Mishaberach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
heart's afraid to fly. It's crashed before. But then you take my hand, my heart starts to soar. Once more, high anxiety. With Joy's help tinkling the ivories down there, I've just shared with you the first verse of the theme song to Mel Brooks' classic 1977 film, High Anxiety. It's a tribute and at the same time a parody of Alfred Hitchcock's many great suspense films. But Hitchcock was actually on board with this because he actually worked with Mel Brooks on the screenplay. In the film, Mel plays a psychiatrist named Dr. Richard H. Thorndike, who is ironically plagued by acrophobia, an intense fear of heights. He recently became the director of the Psychoneurotic Institute for the Very, Very Nervous, and after being there for just a short while, encountered a series of very mysterious events, leaving him in a state of, that's right. The good doctor's neurosis certainly reminds me of our patriarch, who experiences some high anxiety of his own. In this case, we're talking about Yaakov, or Jacob, in this week's Torah portion, Vayetze, which means he went out. So why is Jacob, our patriarch, on pins and needles, or as my late mom would say, having shpilkus? Because Jacob needed to leave home in quite a hurry. Having recently dressed in lambskin to match the hirsute mantle of his slightly older twin brother Esau, Jacob pretty much literally pulls the wool over his father Isaac's dimmed eyes to get his final blessing. Now, normally this blessing goes to the eldest child first, but this time, once again, Jacob got the best of Esau. The first time, you may recall, Jacob traded a bowl of lentil soup for Esau's birthright or inheritance. From the start of this story, there's a whole lot of playing favorites in this family. Jacob was clearly his mother Rebekah's favorite child, likely because he stayed close to home, while Esau was his father Isaac's pride and joy because he liked the outdoors and he liked to hunt. This rift, because of the favoritism, was deep and profound, and it had a lot of long-lasting and quite negative effects, foreshadowing the favoritism that would once again play out in the ensuing generation between Jacob's sons with Leah and Rachel, leading to one multicolored coat, a lot of envy and outright hostility and conflict, and ended with Joseph being tossed into a dark pit by his brothers. Simply put, when one person is chosen over another person, it's never a good thing. And it inevitably leads to bitterness and most likely dissension. I'm sure that every one of us, at least at some point in our lives, way back when, was picked last or maybe close to last during games in gym class or at recess while in grade school. It certainly stings when that happens, especially when the adults in the room didn't bother to step in and help out. All the more so, it's damaging when parents show favoritism to their kids. Of course, it doesn't have to be this way. Take, for instance, the story about a well-known school, a yeshiva, a Jewish school of learning, with a great reputation for the kindness and compassion of its graduates. One day, the head of the yeshiva receives a visitor who's asking how the school earned such a sterling reputation. The head of the school decides to show him firsthand taking the visitor on a tour. When they reach the first classroom, the principal points to his students and say, "Look, that child is my bat yachid," a Hebrew phrase meaning my only child. The visitor replies, "That's great that your daughter goes to the school that you're leading." They continue on to the next classroom, and once again the head of the yeshiva points to a particular student and says, "This one is my ben yachid, my only child." Now the visitor was a bit confused, but nodded anyway because he didn't want to insult his host. Moving on down the hall to the third classroom, the head of the yeshiva points to a particular student and says, "That one is my ben yachid, my only child." This continues in the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth classroom. And finally the visitor says, "Well, how can it be that in every single classroom you point to a different student and say that he or she is your only child?" The head of the yeshiva replies, "Well, they're not my actual children, but herein lies the answer. You came here wanting to know how our school sends compassionate and kind graduates into the world. I tell every single teacher that each student should be treated as if he or she is their ben or bat yachid, their only child." Just imagine if every single person in the world felt truly special at school, at work, at play, at synagogue, or at home. We can experience such joy, pride, and affirmation of spirit whenever we feel noticed and valued. On the other hand, if we see people being treated differently, we can feel watching this embarrassed or even uncomfortable. Perhaps Jacob was feeling a bit of both as he ran away from his family home. He had just left his parents and his twin brother Esau in Beersheba in the land of Israel at the outset of his travels to a place called Batan Aram, where Isaac sent him to live with his uncle Laban. Well, along the way, Jacob had to go to sleep now and then, and he had a dream. This one about a stairway to heaven with angels, or malachim, the same ones that we're talking about and singing about in Shalom Aleichem earlier in the service. These angels are going down and then going up the ladder to heaven. Suddenly, God appears to Jacob and says, "You're standing on holy ground. I've assigned this very land to you and your offspring. Remember, Jacob, I'll always be with you. I'll always protect you wherever you go, and one day bring you back to this land." Jacob awoke from his dream and said the following, "Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh," which means, "Surely God was in this place, and I did not know it." A careful reading of the text in English reveals that the angels went up the ladder first and then went down the ladder. And we might think the opposite should actually be the case, because if angels are said to reside in heaven, wouldn't they go down first and then up on the way back? Well, our sages offered several interpretations of this dream. One of them suggests that the angels going up the ladder are watching over Jacob as he resides in the land of Israel, while the angels going down the ladder will protect and watch over Jacob once he leaves the land of Israel and ends up in Padan Aram. Another commentary puts forth the idea that the angels or messengers symbolize the nations of the world, whose power at first ascends and then may well descend over the course of history. But my favorite one comes from Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, who writes, "There's another even more obvious interpretation. The angels don't reside in heaven at all. In fact, they live on earth and are ordinary human beings. And like ordinary human beings, they shuttle back and forth between heaven and earth. The trick is to remember, after you descend, what you understood when you are high up on the ladder. One thing that Jacob surely learned about in his dream was the importance of checking his ego. Up until this point, the type of ego that Jacob wielded in regards to other people, and especially to his brother, was arrogance. In other words, Jacob lifted himself up to be bigger at the expense of another person, namely his brother. He tricked Esau not once, but twice. But after the dream, when he awakens, Jacob begins to realize the error of his ways. A hint that points to the role of the ego is actually found in Jacob's response once he wakes up. Once again, I'll invite you to look at the screen. It's right there, and the title of Rabbi Lawrence Kushner's book. Notice there are two pronouns used in the text. Surely God was in this place, and I did not know. The second time the word I, written in lowercase, was there may well seem redundant or extra, but it makes all the difference as it points to Jacob's ego. A rabbi named Pinchas Horowitz offers the following insight. It's only possible to reach the highest rungs of the ladder when one's ego is held in check. We can assume that God was already in the place when Jacob went to sleep that night. But up to that point, Jacob was too busy paying attention to himself. That's why he couldn't see the presence of God in his life until after he had the dream and woke up. When it comes to character traits, Jewish sages in general teach that, with the exception of perhaps humility, called anava in Hebrew, the goal is to moderate each character trait, not be too much in one direction or too much in the other, except for humility. And Moses is said to be the paragon of somebody who is humble. It's good and well for us to be self-confident. It's good and well for us to think that we're talented in a particular area or areas, and it's good for us to believe that we're good people. But it's altogether different to lift yourself up at the expense of others. It took a while for Jacob to understand this. And without a doubt, he would soon get his just desserts working for his uncle Laban, spending not 7 but 14 years in Padan Aram for the hands of his daughters, Leah and Rachel. Jacob will learn in next week's Torah portion will be called Yisrael, one who wrestles with the divine and at times himself. This is also an apt description of the Jewish people. In life, all of us at one point or another will be weathering times of high anxiety. But along the way, we must also learn, we must also grow, and we should always strive to do better and to be better. Jacob, at this point in the story, was well on his way to doing that, and so can we. Shabbat Shalom. We will continue now with the words of the Aleinu, the adoration. It's found on page 282 in your prayer books. Please rise as the ark is opened.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tir gedula li'otzer b'rei בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We'll continue now with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, words of praise that you'll find on page 294. So we call to mind and to heart individuals in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days mourning their loved one. On this Shabbat, we remember fondly Michael McCoby, friend of Tom Rose, Malka Singer, mother of Nancy Patchen, my mother, Leah Gottlieb, Evelyn Edelman, mother of Rob Edelman, and Rita Fishman, mother of Stephen Fishman. We also mark the Artsite anniversary of passing of loved ones. On this Shabbat, we remember Harold Behrman, Jill Biederman, Leah Bloom, Betty Bloomberg, Heather Brevoort Heath, Mary Jo Caliso, Gerald Charkins, Bertha Charkins, Patricia Frank, Sandy Frosty, Beatrice Glenn, Celia Hadberg, Ben Hochhauser, Lester Horowitz, Eder Jackson, Sylvia Kaiser, Harold Kaiser, Lonnie Kaplan, Jonathan Krieger, Sydney Leader, Rose Lee, Mary Nels, Donald Nels, Lena Schiffman, Eugene Semsey, Sam Satinoff, Mildred Shapro, Martin Slavny, Harry Snell, Maria Waxman, Thelma Wassoff, Nanette Weiss, Anna R. Weiss, Francis Wolf, and Murray Zander. Are there any other names to add for Yardsite Memorial at this time? Yes. Thank you. We say Zecher, please. We say Zecher Sadiq Livracha. May the memories of all of these good people continue to be a blessing in their loved ones' lives, and in this case, fans as well, as we rise together to offer the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra kirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei kol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mibarach le'alam ulamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran b'yoma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and throughout the world, as we say, amen.
V'imru, v'imru.
free to be seated. You'll find the words to the Shabbat Kiddush on the screen as well as on page 5 for the fruit of the vine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yava u'bratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit hihu yom techilah l'mikra'ei kodesh zeher l'tziat Mitzrayim kibanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amin v'shabbat kodshecha v'yava u'bratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim, to life. Look at this nice new hollow cover. Ava Pierce was here doing some things in the Sisterhood gift shop, and she said, Rabbi Matt, would you like a brand new hollow cover? And I said, sure. So here we go. Well, you know, it's important because what happens is if you don't, there are little sugar ants that come, really, I used to put the little piece of challah, believe it or not, in here, and then I'd come back like 2 days later and there'd be sugar ants all over the place. So now I'm like a little bit more careful, and that's why everything's hermetically sealed, kind of like on an airplane with kosher meals for your protection. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. And not to gross you out, the little sugar ants would go in my little water cup, and oh man, was that gross. So we can't do that. We have to be very, very particular about what goes underneath this lectern, because there are very hungry sugar ants all the time. So now I'm going to call upon Bill Ross, who is going to be sharing some Shabbat announcements with us this evening, representing leadership of our synagogue, and he's the co-chair with Maya Herman of our Social Action Committee.
Good evening. Many thanks to Rabbi Matt, Allison, and Joy for our beautiful service this evening, and our tech crew back, Steve Koningsberg and Brad Wexler. Our monthly book club will meet in person this Sunday, December 4th at 10:30 a.m. Discussing Jen Maxfield's book, More After the Break. In anticipation of her visit, she'll be here live on January 12th for a event sponsored by the Sisterhood. Please join us on Monday, December 5th at 7 p.m. for our own Dr. Eric Steckler's presentation, Jews and Chocolate. Desserts will be served, and I can guarantee I've been the quality taste tester of them. They're good. Our next Lador Vador intergenerational Shabbat service featuring our youth group will be on Friday, December 16th. Different time at 7 p.m. So mark that on your calendars so you're not too late. Our Hanukkah festival is the next thing. Will take place on Sunday, December 18th, and that's at 10:30, sponsored by the Brotherhood and the Sisterhood of Temple. Please join us for food, games, raffles, and a concert. Joni Klein-Higger, author of Barnyard's Bubby's Hanukkah, will perform original holiday songs for us. Following the service, also please join us in the social hall for an ODAG. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Bill. Taste Tester with Linda's Chocolate. I think the subtitle is A Bittersweet Affair for the chocolate. And 2 adult ed opportunities coming up in addition to Chai Mitzvah, which is always on Thursdays on Zoom at 7 p.m. I'll be leading an Intro to Judaism class Monday, December 12th at 7, and the following day on the 13th of December at 2 p.m., another round of Judaism's biggest questions. We're going to conclude our service first with a song of peace, Oseh Shalom. You can find Oseh Shalom on a lot of different pages in the prayer book. Page 62 would be one of them. Oseh Shalom Imromah, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol We also hope that the peace will eventually make its way to the country of Ukraine as well. And our concluding blessing is going to be our prayer for health. If you'd like to join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our life and our health. Shabbat Shalom. One and all, so glad you are here to worship with us here in the sanctuary and at home. Until next time.